Today we start with the stays, and there was one um, difficult requirement, which was to build a mouse on 5 of the stays. On the plan, this gives you the various dimensions between the eye and the mouse, and then further down how it looks and fits on the model. And I did a fair amount of research trying to find out how you would do that on a model boat, and really couldn't come up with anything concrete. Wikipedia has a very good description of what the term a mouse is in terms of rigging, but it is when I read the book Modeling the Brig of War Irene that I truly got a good idea of how I would approach this, and that was the inspiration to the solution to my problem. The mouse is a bump in a stay that is on most of the mainstays, and it's various types of rope whippings or all sorts of different marine terms that create this bump that prevents an eye from slipping past it. The solution then was to take a dowel and put it in an electric sharpener, and I would get a nice triangle shaped piece, even on both sides, which I could then cut off and use as my mouse. So I've drilled a hole through the center, done this on a drill press, put a line through it, and now we're going to wind this line around and see if we can't turn it into a beautifully shaped fitting. So this is my first attempt at making a mouse. Well, this is how it came out. It's a bit overscale, but it has the shape, and I think if I cut it in half, I'll get the effect that I want. I don't think I have to wrap it in string because it's on a black line, so I'm simply just going to paint it black. But this will make up our mouse, and the eye will be made up with a little brass tube that I'll cut on the chop saw. I decided not to use the brass sleeve in the eye and just leave it natural. We've set up the top of all of the stays, and now on an individual basis we'll do the various connections at the different points, not tightening up anything, and as we do each one I'll take you through. The first of the stays is the main mizzen stay, and I suppose it's the first because it takes a lot of the pressure and will determine how each of the other stays relate. And it goes down to the bottom of the main mast through a 5mm dead eye, and the lanyard literally ties on the stay itself. We now go to the mizzen topmast stay, and it goes straight down and attaches to the top of the main mast using again 5mm blocks. The relationship between these two stays is very important. If we pull the main mizzen stay in, you'll see it gets slack. As you let it go, it gets tight. The main stay, which I suppose takes most of the stress of the mast, goes up the port side and down the starboard side through the lubber's hole. Then it comes down here, and it's a heart-shaped block which is lashed to the bowsprit. Another heart-shaped block here, and it's relatively straightforward. As you can see from this, we whipped it, and the plan is that we would put some seizings on it when it's complete. because that's how it was really done on the rail ships. The main preventer follows the same pattern as the mainstay, except it comes right to the top of the bowsprit, where it's tied in a similar manner as the mainstay. You will remember I told you all, always open up the holes in all the blocks before you put on the model. Well, here's one I missed, and you really don't want to be doing this for a whole host of reasons. The most important one is you could break the block and have to do it all over again. There we go. We have tied a clove hitch at the top, which we'll put some water down CA on, and we run this through, and you want to come from the starboard to the port because you're securing it on the port side. Working these out working out how you're going to do it is really very important, so that you don't have to go and do it again. And then it's stuck on, I think it is, yes, on the collar on B2 on the port side. So that's this one right here. And just a quick word of warning. You'll notice I'm not sticking any of the lines when I run them in. And that's because at some point in time you're going to get a sequence out, and that's going to cause a whole other series of lines to run slack on you. And if you glue them, you won't have the ability to go back and adjust the model. We're now going to run the main topmast stay. So it goes through the port side, and then around the head and down through the cross trees. And then we run the line through the eye that we had made up. Till it catches on the mouse. It goes through the starboard hole of the bowsprit bees. If you remember, we had to keep the right side hole clear, and then we put a block on it here. Here is our mouse, and we go down through the bees and into the block, and then it's tied on the knighthead, the starboard knighthead. I had a real hard time being able to put these running backs on until eventually I developed this technique, which works fantastically. The solution really is you have to hold it in place. So I hook it on and then hold it in place with this fixed tweezers. Then I take my little spacer and put it in place, and instead of trying to put the dead eye on it and hook it up, I simply hold it tight and lock it in place with a clamp. And this is just going to make sure that both of them are even. It's going to be slightly higher than planned, but it just means that the lanyard will be slightly longer. Now we take the line, this one, and instead of doing it the way it was originally done, we just get it around the dead eye and slip this over the top of it and pull it tight. So we now got that in a fixed spot. And then we follow the same procedure of seizing the 3 knots onto the running back and just let it dry. The one swinging in the back, we've just tied the first knot and waiting for that to set before we put the other two knots. The other modification we made is we don't try to tie that half hitch on the dead eye because it was just causing too much trouble. So it is really just a simple clove hitch tied tight and pulled down against the fixed height that we had established with that clip. So the process is the same, which we don't need to go through, of how you put the lanyard on. The only difference is having set the correct height for the dead eye off of the backstay. We take it off and rig it, and then when it's all rigged, just clip it on and pull it tight. So we've got it all rigged, and we just need to clip it on and then just pull it tight. At this stage, you're also going to start to line it up. So these four backstays actually can reposition the direction of the mast, the shape of the mast. And so I've actually been adjusting, and now it's perfectly back, straight up and down, exactly the way I want it. And at the same time, all of these inner stays are starting to tighten up as well. See, the mizzen topmast has been pulled way too far back, so we're going to ease both of those top backstays and let that straighten back up. And as you can see, it's now corrected, and we have readjusted the backstays. The main topmast backstays are all attached through the cross trees on the topmast and run down outside of everything, down and attached to the dead eyes that are the 3mm dead eyes that come out of the channels. The breast backstay is here, the running backs here, and the backstay is here. So that's now complete, and we are going to move on to doing the crow's feet.